Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Zselyke, and today I wanted to talk about Google Ads brand campaigns and just share a little bit about what they are, how to use them, and also talk about some best practices regarding them. So when we talk about brand campaigns regarding Google Ads, usually we refer to campaigns that are triggered by branded keywords. So a branded keyword usually includes your company name, it can also be a product name, or in certain instances it can be even the name of a member of your team, especially if you're a lawyer or a doctor or say photographer, etc., where people might even search for your name as opposed to your company's name. However, this does not mean that all keywords that include your brand name are so-called branded keywords. When we are talking about a brand campaign, the people who we are targeting is the people who search with the intent of finding more about the brand and who already have a general idea what they want, but don't necessarily search for a specific product. Let's say someone searches for Apple, so they might want to find out more about the company or just already know that they want to enter an Apple website, as opposed to someone who would search Apple, MacBook Pro, this and this and that year, this and this and that model. They probably have a very different search intent, because someone who searches for a specific name of a product is probably looking forward to find more information about that product and not necessarily the company itself. So when creating brand campaigns, it's important to identify what kind of intent the user who you want to target has. Think about yourself. When you enter a search engine and you type in a certain brand's keyword, what is it that you want to find out? Sometimes it can be their contact information, or it could be for you to check out if they have some sale going on, or see what are their latest products, see their warranty policy, etc., etc. So this is in general kind of the people who this brand campaign is targeted for, and not necessarily someone who already knows the exact product they would like to purchase or they want to find more information about. So we will separate these into different campaigns and target different types of ads for them. So today I'm going to talk about the people who want to find out general information about the company, as opposed to someone who wants to find out something specific about a product. So why are branded campaigns important? Why am I talking about this? Well, it has several reasons. Number one is that there can be a lot of misspellings regarding company brand names, especially if your brand name is something more complicated. Let's take me, for instance. As I told you in the beginning of the video, my name is Zselyke, but unless you're Hungarian, you probably have no idea how to spell that. But maybe after seeing one of my videos, you want to look up my website or my other content later, so you search for my name on Google. But most likely, and I'm willing to bet you on that, you will not be able to spell it correctly. So if I would be making a Google Ads branded campaign for my name, I would add all types of different variations how people might spell my name wrong, to make sure that I still get on top of the search results, even if the Google search engine doesn't necessarily understand that what you're typing wrongly is you looking for my name. But if there are some common misspellings, how I know people are spelling my name, then I can still target these keywords, and then you will be able to find what you're looking for through that. So if people in general have a tendency to spell your brand name incorrectly, then it's definitely useful to add all types of different variations and target these keywords in your campaigns. So this way you can make sure that even if you're not on top of the organic search results with the faulty spelling, you will still be on top of the results with your ads. Now, if you have some digital marketing knowledge, you might be asking me, well, Zselyke, what about SEO? What if I'm already ranking on the top of Google already organically, so why would I want to pay for visitors to click on my ad instead? Isn't that just wasted money? Well, yes and no. Although you can give Google some indications how you would want your ads and meta descriptions to appear, you still have so much more control over your ad copies and extensions via Google Ads. So if someone is searching for your brand, it's much easier to have control over what site links you have appearing, and you can add promotional codes, and you can just add in general a bunch of extra information and make sure that it's really prominent and really relevant for the user. On top of that, if you are on the very top of organic search results, plus you have a paid ad on top, people in general are just much more likely to end up on your site as opposed to someone else's, because you essentially cover half of the first page results. So this in general is gonna increase the click-through rate regardless of whether if it's through Google Ads or organic search results. on top of that, since your ad is probably the most relevant for these keywords, your quality score will be very, very high, and thus your CPC will be very, very low. This means that these clicks will be probably the cheapest clicks you can ever get. So I think this is definitely something you should be investing on, and that's not a place to be frugal. Why it's also important that you are the one who is placing bids on your own keywords is that your competitors might be doing the same. Let's say Nike has been doing really, really well recently, and Adidas is starting to get concerned, and they're trying to get back some customers for them. So let's say they also start to bid for Nike's keywords. So whenever someone types in Nike, that will be the organic search results. But Adidas could technically outbid them and then have their shoe ad on the top. So when you click on it, you probably would realize eventually, but you would end up on Adidas's website instead of Nike's, although that was your first intention. There are actually a lot of live examples about this, so let me show you a few. So let's see a few real life examples. Let's see how, for example, Adidas uses brand campaigns, or if they use brand campaigns at all. So we enter, and there you go. This is definitely an ad. You can always recognize them from over here. And if we go a little lower, then you can see that they're right over here below with their organic result. So obviously Adidas is the one who ranks the highest. So these are very general site links, but you can see that actually if you go up here, this ad is so much more prominent because you have just in general more information, and there's more call to action. It says order from Adidas today, and it has, I guess these are some other shoes that have recently come out, and they have the Superstars and the NMD, and also they have a promo code over here and the 30% off. So there's just a lot more seasonalities in this ad, and in general it just looks more prominent because you can even get 15% off, and here you can get 30% off. So you can see that it's definitely more interesting than the ad we have right below, because this is also, even the meta description is not that interesting. It says welcome to Adidas, clothing and collections, blah, blah, blah. But if you go up here, it says free shipping for members, don't miss out. So it's definitely just much more prominent, much more interesting. So Adidas is taking up half of the results page with relevant content. So this is definitely something you can do as well with your ads. Now let's see another example where someone would be bidding on their competitors' keywords. Let's see if iMovie does it, or someone does it for iMovie. And there we go. So iMovie, if you are a MacBook user, it's, I believe, a free software for movie editing. But I have recently actually experienced that Movavi has been quite aggressive with their marketing. So you can see that Movavi is actually bidding for the iMovie keyword. And this way, they're actually ranking above Apple's iMovie link. So I'm not going to click on it, but let's say someone was genuinely looking for iMovie and they're a Mac user, and they would click on this because it's just the first result, and they would be taken to Movavi's page, which is actually not free. You have to pay for it. So they will probably, as soon as they find out that it's not what they were looking for, they would exit this and they would click on this. So in this case, in my opinion, this is most of the time it will be money wasted, but I'm sure there has been cases with Movavi where it actually resulted in a sale. So looks like it's still worth it for them. But in general, if some competitors are doing this for your ads, just make sure that you're also competing for your own keywords, so you're not outranked by a competitor for your own brand name. Let's search for Misfit Market. I'm a huge fan of their service. They're available in the US. Yeah, so what I wanted to show you is that, especially if you don't have that much control over SEO, then you can see that all of these texts are kind of cut off. Whereas in Google Ads, your site links are specifically designed to appear in this space. So it's exactly the length that it's supposed to be. And in general, it just looks slightly nicer and slightly cleaner. And it's just nicer that it's not always cut off everywhere. So as you can see, based on these examples, many times the paid ad is just so much more prominent and much more informative for a user than a organic search result. So it's very important that you show your best site to your consumers who are looking for you. So now that we have cleared that out, let's talk about some best practices regarding branded campaigns. I would say that number one is be very careful with the match types you are using. What I like to do for most of my branded campaigns is that I divide and use the same keywords by match type. This means that in my branded campaigns, I usually have a ad group for exact keywords, a separate ad group for phrase keywords, and a separate group for broad match keywords. In this way, I have more control over spending, and it's just much more easier to see what performs well and what is it that people are searching for. But I would like to warn you that also, depending on obviously your product, be very careful with broad matches, because you might end up with some very specific queries and you might want to separate those into different campaigns. So in that case, just make sure that you're using enough negative keywords in these campaigns. In general, you're just going to have so much more success with your Google Ads campaigns if you tailor each of your campaigns and ad groups into a specific search intent by user. The second tip I would like to share with you is separate your product keywords from your brand keywords and keep the branded campaign purely for general searches about your brand as opposed to something very, very specific. Let's say you're the clothing company Bershka, and the only keywords you really want to rank for in your branded campaign is Bershka and all its possible typos and misspellings that I'm sure occur quite a bit. But you probably want to have a separate campaign for keywords such as Bershka dresses or Bershka trousers, Bershka shoes, etc., etc. So keep these separate because they have a different type of intent. And if people are searching for specific types of products or product groups, then you can also create specific ads for that, and you also probably have a much higher click-through rate and conversion rate in general if, say, you also have specific campaigns for keywords such as Bershka shoes. And then for these types of searches, you should probably have a very different ad copy because people already have something specific in their mind. And you can also show site links such as Bershka sandals, Bershka boots, Bershka winter shoes sale, etc., etc., which actually brings me to my next point. So tip number 3 is to make sure that you use your most prominent and most relevant ad extensions that you can possibly have for all your branded campaigns. Because people who search for your brand are people who are on some level very engaged with your brand and want to know more about you. So they are probably interested in finding out more information about what's going on, if you have new products, or where is the closest store located, how can they get in touch with you if they need to call you, etc., etc. So what is currently the most relevant for your business and what you would want your returning customers or potentially interested customers to know about you is what you definitely should put in your ad extensions. So make sure to use site link extensions, make sure to use location extensions, call extensions, promotion extensions, just all the extensions out there that make also sure that they're updated and relevant. And this is highly important, and it will also definitely increase your click-through rate. And if you play your cards right, then hopefully your conversion rate as well. Tip number 4 is to make sure that you're using appropriate negative keywords. So especially if you're using broad match campaigns, there might be a ton of irrelevant queries that might come up. If you let that happen for a while, it also can be a good way to collect all the negative keywords and apply that throughout all your campaigns. But just be very mindful about it because you definitely don't want to appear for something inappropriate, or you don't necessarily want to appear for a competitor's search. So just be very mindful about the keywords you are using. So make sure that you only appear for queries that are truly relevant for you, because if you appear for searches that are actually not relevant and people were searching for something else and then they accidentally click on your link because that was the first thing on top of the search results, and then they enter your website and they realize, oh, this is not something I was looking for, they exit immediately. So this will lower your quality score and crank up that CPC, which is something you definitely don't want. So just be mindful about the keywords you are using, and you can really keep a good control over this over a well-curated negative keyword list. My final tip number 5 is for all of you advanced or advancing PPC users out there. So when you are creating brand campaigns, if you want to make them even slightly more relevant, then you can create different brand campaigns based on demographics or based on interest. Especially if you're selling a vast range of products, you can really take advantage of Google Ads' different features on targeting. So let's say you're a clothing company and you sell both men's and women's apparel. So you can actually create two identical branded campaigns with the only difference that one is specifically targeted for women and the other one is specifically targeted for men. So let's say if a man searches for your keyword Zara, if we're following the Zara example again, then you would probably want to show links for men's shoes or men's shirts, men's trousers, etc. As opposed to if a woman is searching for the same keyword, then you could have women's dresses and shoes and bags appear. This way, really making them even more relevant for the user. Obviously, it's not only the gender you can use, and this depends so much on your product. Let's say you're selling electronics, and you can separate your campaign based on interest. Let's say you can have a branded campaign for people who are in general interested in photography, so that could be a more photography focused ad copy, and then you could have another one that is focused more on people who like gaming, and etc., etc. So you can really make your branded campaigns also highly targeted and thus more relevant and bring you more revenue. So what you really need to do is just kind of put yourself in the user's shoes who are searching about your product and want to find out more information about your brand, and make these ads highly targeted based on that. So these were my 5 tips. I hope you found them useful. If you have any other questions, then make sure to put them down below. I hope this was useful, and if you don't have a branded campaign yet, I highly advise to create one or create 2 or 3 and make them based on demographics, make them based on age, gender, interest, in-market audiences. Use all of that and make sure that you're making the most of your product, and make sure you're delivering relevant information to people who are searching about you. And that's all from me today. I hope you have a beautiful day.